I can't believe what I just found out in this 1875 Bible about the book of Revelation. There's a reason why the government's trying to get rid of these old books, because what's in them isn't what we're getting taught today, man.
These would be so cool to have. His question was, does this mean the book of Revelation already happened? I said no. The book of Revelation starts with the first seal, and it's a rider on a white horse. Some of it is definitely happening. We're up to some of the seals, but the rapture hasn't happened yet, which is around the fifth
this Bible
or
here is
sixth
really
seal.
interesting because it gives you a whole breakdown of, instead of having to read the whole book in terms of like the chapters, it kind of gives you a little briefing. Now take a look at this. It's very interesting. It says the book of Job. It has been supposed by some that the book of Job is an allegory, not a real narrative, on account of the artificial character of many of its statements.
Okay, and the book of Job was never taken out, so that would mean that it was not an allegory. So this actually implicates other books in the Bible that they were trying to do this to, specifically the book of Enoch, which they were successful in removing.
Now I'm just reading from the book. This isn't any type of what I think is just, we're just reading through it, okay? So this is the book of Revelation here, and this is what it has to say about Revelation, okay? First it says, it seems to have been written to comfort the early churches under persecution, and its keynote is the success of the new religion over every opposition.
The early church suffered persecution, so when they read Revelation, it reminded them of the early church that would go through persecution, and then in the future that would also go through persecution. So he says a little weird yet if it hasn't happened yet. I don't know if you can kind of read between the lines, because when you're reading the Bible, you have to read both past, present, and future. Some things are happening in Revelation, but not everything yet, and it's not all finished.
So just bear with me, as I'm not the best reader. 2 cities are mentioned as overthrown, and a third is established on their ruins. By Sodom is meant Jerusalem, as evident from the mention of the temple and holy city. By Babylon, it's meant Rome. These 2 cities are overthrown, and the new Jerusalem is established. Interesting. Jerusalem is a symbol of Judaism, and Babylon of paganism.
So just to recap, because he said he wasn't a good reader, 2 cities are mentioned as overthrown, and a third established on their own ruins. By Sodom is meant Jerusalem, as in evident from the mention of the temple and the holy city. That's what we're waiting for the new Jerusalem, the holy city, which will be heaven. Well, God will establish his new millennial reign and have a new heaven and a new earth. By Babylon, it meant Rome. Yeah, Babylon the Great. I don't know if that has to do with the slogan about make America great again. Something to do with the wine of her adultery, and it's like a spirit roaming around a nation that is filled with consumption and vanity, and consuming innocent, vampire stuff, things that are so shameful to not even talk about, the Lord says. But the same practice that they sacrifice to Baal. Let's just put it that way. And the Bible speaks of this nation that's like that. Babylon is going to be in ruin, especially during the Great Tribulation. That is what God's wrath is coming for.
Both of which systems are at length overthrown by the spread of the power of Christianity.
To recap, both systems overthrown by the power of Christianity. Both systems, left or right. One is not more Christian. That's part of the deception as well. It's a collapse of the freedom of choice. The revolution will be people hiding in caves to escape taking the mark.
The world prophecy may be arranged thus.
The world prophecy may be arranged thus means when you read the prophecy of Revelation, you will see what rearranged you need to make, where we are in that prophecy, depending on if you're reading it in the past, in the present, or if you're reading it in the future. That's why the word is multi-layered and very powerful that way, that it speaks to thousands of generations, and multi-dimensional. So you can see it from different layers and different angles, from different perspectives. So that sentence means that don't forget to know where you are in the prophecy if you read it, if you read Revelation out loud and understand it, then you know where we are roughly in the prophecy to know where to rearrange if this prophecy is yet to come, is happening currently, and how much is left of it that we're waiting for and that we're going to see other people go through while we're in heaven.
Introduction to the 7 epistles to the 7 churches. This is where it gets interesting. Preparation for the great events to follow. 7 seals. Sodom or Jerusalem, representing Judaism, destroyed by the series of calamities. 7 trumpets. Birth of Christianity, the child of uncorrupted Judaism, and preservation of the imprint from the destruction by the special interposition of heaven. Babylon or Rome, in its first form as a marine monster, persecuting paganism, destroyed by a series of calamities, the 7 vials. Under this part is distinct allusion to Mohammedism.
Yeah, the sea monster is like the spirit of Leviathan, or in Greek mythology, like Poseidon. It's like a fallen angel that turned into a beast and were casted out into the ocean. And it's part giant, so it has immortality, and it's just like a very distinctive demon that is one of the most powerful that will come during the end times and possess people, possess the Antichrist. They don't care. They're evil. This was Neptune. This is folklore, or is it true stories of a fallen angel mixing with humans, creating Nephilim, creating giants, and the son of giants? The question was, how did David kill Goliath if it was after the flood and supposedly only Noah and his family survived? Well, then it would make sense that something survived underwater and it was a sea monster that was demonic. Because, evil is immortal, or they have immortality, they can't die. That's why it survived after the flood, and why there was a recessive gene with one of Noah's daughter-in-laws. So if there was any creation that survived the flood that had immortality, so they couldn't die, might have turned into these hybrid creatures that they were once human, but because they had the fallen angel power, turned into mermaids or sirens, which became demonic creatures of the sea.
Compound of Judaism and paganism, which is under the Sarenic power overthrown Christianity in the East.
Sarenic power overthrows Christianity in the East. Sounds like a war. Not to get too off topic, but one of the seals in Revelation is plague. It's the 4th seal, and it is interpreted as deadly diseases. Now, was 2020 a trial run for the real thing? Because this one being at sea, I'm not gonna lie, it hits different. Because the plague of the green horseman is a horse, right? So it's like heading towards you, and this is at sea. It's like heading towards somewhere, and nobody wants it to land. Could we be currently living in the fourth seal? I don't know. Did it already happen? Maybe. And is there a lot more worse plagues yet to come? Actually, yes, most definitely.
Babylon is another form of papal.
Babylon is another form of papal. Is an interesting sentence. So I typed it into Google and see what it could tell me. And it thought I said PayPal at first. And I was like, whoa, Babylon is connected with PayPal. And the Bible was talking about it. Something that connects you to being able to buy or sell. It seems like a false religion that is a subdivision of Christianity, but is not true Christianity. But they like to say they're Christians and claim to believe in the cross fully. Things that they corrupt biblical teachings, it says. And it also references them as Babylon the whore. So because God does not like when people are back and forth, he says you cannot serve two masters. So when you go back and forth from serving God and then being a slave to sin and serving your sin, then your sin is your master. And he calls that a whore.
Depotism. Sorry, guys.
No, don't be sorry. Thank you for reading the words slowly. And there are new words to me as well, so I can understand why you're reading slowly. But what is depotism? So I had to look that up. And it says a form of government or rule characterized by a single leader, a depop, exercising absolute, unrestricted power and authority, often cruelty or oppressive. The opposition commonly resulting in tyranny and widespread oppression. Remember what he said about in the beginning? Why these books are trying to be cleared out by a certain agency? So essentially, to put it together, Babylon is like a dictatorship that takes away, your freedoms. So essentially, why any people in power would want this information to not be found, so that, do I not have freedom? Super surveillance, or I don't know, AI microchip.
A compound of paganism and Christianity. Babylon, finally and completely destroyed, inflicts victories succeeding Reformation. The millennium, another hostile power, still future, or post-millennium, the last judgment, final victory, final and complete trumpet Christianity, and the consummation of its glory.
Consummation of its glory is the final fulfillment of God's redemption plan and the completion of the creation story.
In the heavenly world. What do you think about that?
I think that last sentence was talking about the millennial kingdom, which the writer puts that it's in the future and knows that it hasn't happened yet. It's going to be a time where God restores the garden. For 1,000 years, the devil will be bound in a bottomless pit to be put away from deceiving the nations. And God will establish peace on earth. The animals will be running around freely with us, and people will live a very long life. People will live in prosperity, and it'll be no war anymore. And God refers to this time as restoring all things, and he will restore everything back to the original place in the garden, except this time that the devil won't be able to deceive the nation. So gonna end it here. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.